The space for what you want in your life is already being filled with what you're willing to settle for.
This is The Entrepreneur Way with Neil Ball. Unlocking the secrets of successful entrepreneurs 7 days a week. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Twitter at Neil D. Ball. Napoleon Hill said the power of the mastermind is the driving force. To discover how you can unlock the potential in your business using the power of a mastermind, go to mastermindunlimited.com. And now, here is your host, Neil Ball.
Hello, it's Neil Ball here. Thank you so much for joining me today on The Entrepreneur Way. The Entrepreneur Way is about the entrepreneur's journey, the vision, the mindset, the commitment, the sacrifice, failures and successes. I am so excited to bring you our special guest today, Carolyn Strauss. But before I introduce you to Carolyn, I have a quote for you by Brian Tracy. Leaders are innovative, entrepreneurial, and future-oriented. They focus on getting the job done. The Entrepreneur Way asks the questions, so we all get the insight, inspiration, and ideas to apply in our businesses. Carolyn, welcome to the show. Are you ready to share your version of the Entrepreneur Way with us?
Yeah, that's why I'm here. That's how it works, right? No, I'm going to sit here and be quiet and let you talk for an hour, Neil. That'll be fun.
Oh, do you know what? When I invited you on the show, I knew you'd just be troubled, Carolyn. And here we go already.
Well, you were so lovely when you did our show. So you had my partner on Another Day Above Ground. You had him as a guest on your show, Dale Irvin. And I listened to that episode and you were funny and he was funny. And when you did our podcast, you were fantastic. So thank you for that. And people can find it at anotherdayaboveground.com. And I only do that because that's what Dale did. So I can't let him one up me.
Well, you'll have to be a professional summarizer at the end as well, Carolyn.
No. I'm a professional precursor. I can guess what's going to happen.
Really?
And then he summarizes it when it's over. Yeah.
Wow. So what's your prediction for this episode?
It's going to be the best one ever.
Is it really? This must be the longest pre-answer I've ever had on this show.
Oh, are we only in the pre? That's
We're
what I said.
We're only in the pre part of it here.
Like I told you, Neil, the beginning and the end are the best parts. It's the middle that can be really a pain.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. And thank you very much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Carolyn Strauss is an internationally recognized keynote speaker and corporate trusted advisor whose expertise lies in sales, persuasion, and execution. So get ready, folks. She spent 18 years on camera on HSN with her own clothing line, CSC Studio. She is a member of the Screen Actors Guild and believes a good day contains chocolate. And she is co-host of the Another Day Above Ground podcast, which you may mention from time to time. Carolyn, can you provide us with some more insight into your business and personal life to allow us to get to know more about who you are and what you do?
Yes. Oh, now?
Well, we can do it next week if you like.
Okay. Actually, I'm going to go a different way, Neil, because I'm an oppositionist. And I actually am going to do something a little different.
Go on.
I am going to start with 3 pieces of advice. So if somebody only has 2 minutes to listen to this, they can get the 3 pieces of advice that I've used in my entire career that's helped to make me successful. And then after that, I'll talk about me all you want.
Okay.
So here they go. Piece number 1, surround yourself with brilliant people. I'm telling you, right now, when I was a kid, a lot of us were kids, information was power. Mm-hmm. Information is no longer power. Where power lies is in sphere of influence. Who do you have around you? And are you crystal clear on what you intend for them to do and what they can do with you to support you and you can do to support them? Okay. So surround yourself with brilliant people. Number 2, learn how to ask for help. Figure out what you don't know. There is so much I don't know. Oh my gosh. When I was in my 20s and 30s, I thought I knew everything. I'm not there anymore. And I know how to ask for help. And the beautiful thing is number 2 ties into number 1 because you need to know who to ask for help. So create incredible relationships, surround yourself with brilliant people, learn how to ask for help. And third, figure out how whatever you're doing in your life, your offer, especially your business offer, how does it save people time, money, and create well-being? If you can figure out how what you do saves them time, saves them money, and creates well-being for them, their family, their lives, their businesses, their companies, their realms, then you'll do great in business. So thanks for having me, Neil.
Thank you, Carolyn. That was a great episode. Ladies and gentlemen, please tune in next week and we'll have Carolyn. We may have another person on who will actually speak a little bit longer. Actually, we haven't finished. Back to you, Carolyn. Tell us something about yourself.
All right. Sorry, I just had to do that because I know that, your podcasts are brilliant. This entrepreneurial way is genius. But I know that sometimes people only have a couple of minutes and I'm all about being of service. Okay. So given that, my background, I was born a small child in Massachusetts, 3-block walk from the beach. And that was great. I learned that you can get a sunburn the first day of summer. So anybody who's listening to this early in the season, don't go outside with coconut oil on your body and sit in the sun. Mm-hmm. I learned that when I was little. Lesson number 1. And then while I was in college, I studied acting in college. I was in high school musicals and in theater in high school. And then I studied acting in college. And while I was in college, it was in the early 80s, actually. Yeah. And a friend of mine saw that plus size modeling was going to be a big thing. It was when there were half sizes in the US for sizing that they realized that plus size modeling would be a good thing. And I was always a little heavy, but I was always perfectly proportioned. In fact, when I was in my teens and 20s, I lived by the 3 Ps: pretty, proportioned, and poised. Mm-hmm. Pretty, proportioned, and poised. And that's who I was in my 20s. By the way, my 3 Ps now are peaceful, powerful, and prosperous. So we've evolved. Okay. But I became a plus size model back when I was in college in Boston and then moved to New York when I graduated from college. And I studied acting in college. I have a BFA in musical theater. Yeah, you got to learn a whole lot more about business than that. But I can sing. So I moved to New York City and became a plus size model with the Ford Modeling Agency. I wrote a book on the modeling business called Specialty Modeling: Everything You Need to Know About Large Size, Petite, Hand, Shoe, and Character Modeling. Now, that I wrote with a woman named Tori Hartman. I have to say, one of the other keys to being successful in business, I believe, for me, everything I've ever done in business successfully, I've had an incredible partner. To me, partnership is the key to being great in business. In fact, if you read Lean In, the Sheryl Sandberg book, the CEO of Facebook, obviously, her book, Lean In, the one thing I loved about that book was the line that she said is the quality of your life as a female business person will be determined by the quality of the partner that you choose. Mm-hmm. I believe that's true in business as well. It is so key to choose the right partners. So for me, everything I've ever done successfully, I've done with a partner. So Tori and I wrote Specialty Modeling, and then I was modeling in fashion shows. And then one day, it's also luck, which is when preparation meets opportunity. I was modeling in a fashion show in New Jersey at a Macy's, and the commentator didn't show up. And I had modeled for them in the past, and the fashion director came up to me and said, of all the models who were there, by the way, there were 8 of us, plus size models, came up to me and said, hey, do you think you can commentate this show? And I went, sure, I can act like a commentator. I was in my early 20s. Sure, I can. Mm-hmm. And I jumped on the stage and I took the microphone and I was like, how does a commentator do this? And I'd seen other people do it. And I commentated a fashion show for the first time. And it went great. And in fact, it went so well. She said to me, if I cancel this woman for the rest of the shows that I have booked, will you commentate them? So a new business was born. So The Perfect Image with Carolyn Strauss. And I called my company The Perfect Image at that time. It was a fashion show commentating company. And I called it The Perfect Image because I have a fear of commitment and there's no such thing as a perfect image. So I thought that was a great name for my company. And I started commentating fashion shows all over the country and became the top plus size fashion show commentator in the United States. And while I was doing that, I was still modeling. I was modeling for everybody from Macy's to Liz Claiborne to all over the garment center. And then I created my own exercise video. And then from there, when I did my own exercise video, and that happened in the late 90s because I looked around. I've always exercised. I exercise 4 or 5 days a week because I don't feel well when I don't. And I looked around and I had been doing the Jane Fonda workout and I had done the Richard Simmons workouts. And, if you remember those from the 80s and 90s.
I'm aware of them, yeah.
Yes. And I realized that there were no plus size women. I mean, I was never going to look like Jane Fonda and I never wanted to be like Richard Simmons. And I actually worked with him once and that's a whole nother episode that you and I could do. But I created my own exercise video and I designed the leotards, yes, leotards that I wore with the two women. And we shot it at one of those public access television stations down in Maryland, because I had a friend who lived in Maryland and he had access to that and he got us the TV studio. So we shot it in a TV studio. And then I decided that I wanted to make some money from it because it cost me $10,000 and I didn't make any money from that. So one of my clients, we said, let's go down to the Home Shopping Network and pitch them a line of exercise wear and we'll sell it with the exercise video. So Scott and I, my business partner at the time, and I went down to Home Shopping and had a meeting with them. And they said, sorry, we don't do exercise clothes and we don't do exercise videos. And as we were leaving, though, they said, but wait, we love you as a designer and a spokesperson. They said to me, and they said to Scott, we love you as a manufacturer. Do you guys want to do a line of sportswear, like real clothes? And we said, yeah. So that was in 1997. So we started the Carolyn Strauss collection, which, by the way, was originally called The Perfect Image by Carolyn Strauss. And I get there the first day and I'm on set. And on the screen, I see the Carolyn Strauss collection. And I say, no, it's called The Perfect Image. And they said, if it's called The Perfect Image, you don't get to do this. And I said, no, the Carolyn Strauss collection's a really good name. So the Carolyn Strauss collection was born. And it lasted 18 years on the Home Shopping Network. We did it from 1997 to 2015. I was the CEO of a multi-million-dollar apparel company. And while I was doing that, I was still commentating fashion shows and I was still a plus size model. I actually retired from plus size modeling when I turned 40 because I decided that I didn't want to be a 40-year-old model. It felt kind of sad to me. I thought it was kind of like being a 40-year-old football quarterback. That didn't make sense either. But I can't catch a ball, so that wasn't an option. So I retired from plus size modeling, but I had been doing professional speaking, and how that came about again is I was commentating a fashion show, a plus size fashion show somewhere. I can't remember. Maybe I was in the Chicago area. I can't even remember. I wish I did. But this group of young women from a college came up to me after the fashion show and said, hey, do you do any speaking at colleges? I said, of course I do. And they said, well, would you come? We've got our sorority here. Would you come and speak for us? What would you charge? And I said, okay. And I came up with a number, which was the same I charged for fashion shows. And they said, okay. And I thought, well, this is easy. Mm-hmm. So I put together a speech on self-esteem and well-being and business and how to be successful in business. And I went out there. They flew me out. I was living in New York at the time. They flew me out and in the city. they flew me out to Chicago, and I did my thing for them. And I went, this is a really fun way to make a living. So I joined the National Speakers Association, and I've got my CSP now, which is a certified speaking professional, which is the highest earned designation anybody can get in the professional speaking arena. So I'm very proud of that because I worked really hard to get that. Mm-hmm. So that's the story of my life. How bored are you?
I'm not bored at all. I'm fascinated. You sing, you act, you're a commentator, you write books, you had an apparel company, and you're a speaker.
And I've got 4 meditation CDs. I've written 4 books. And by the way, the acting thing, I actually have an audition this afternoon.
Are you still doing it?
I still act.
And can you dance?
Sure, just like Joey on Friends, if you remember that. I can carry a tune and I can move my body. So yes.
That's amazing. You do all those things. I can't do it. Most of those things are not my strength.
Okay.
But what a story. So why did you stop the apparel company? Why did you stop running that?
Oh, wow. Do you want the true story or what I tell people? I'll tell you the true story.
We'll take both if you like.
Yeah. What I tell people is I was done and I was complete, and they were done and they were complete is the story. So Home Shopping and QVC, HSN and QVC combined forces about 3 years ago, if you remember, one of the hugest mergers in business ever. And when that was about to happen, they got new management at HSN, and new management decided that they wanted to go totally celebrity driven and brand name driven. They wanted to be more of an online department store. Mm-hmm. And I was a brand for them, a very well-known brand, but I was a private label in-house brand for them. We didn't sell CSC Studio, which, by the way, the Carolyn Strauss collection became CSC Studio in 2008. CSC, Carolyn Strauss collection, get it? Yeah. So it became CSC Studio in 2008. And they wanted to go celebrity-driven. So they decided that it didn't work for them to have us anymore. Now, here's how I describe it to people when I do tell the truth, like I am to you guys, because stuff happens in business. So, like when you're walking by a bakery, a beautiful bakery, and it's the beautiful wedding cakes and all the decorated cakes and cookies and the beautiful cupcakes in the window that draw you in. Yeah. But where the bakery actually makes its money is in the bread and the bagels. Mm-hmm. Well, I was a really good bagel. I was a solid bagel for 18 years. And apparently they didn't want to be in the bread and bagel business. They wanted to be in the wedding cake business. That's what happened.
Wow. You're the first person who's ever described themselves as a bagel on here.
Thank you.
So going back to this, you talked about not being able to do the modelling anymore because you don't think you should be doing it over 40. But why does that matter? Because you'd be doing it for other people who are over 40. So surely they'd like to see people of their age doing it.
Sure. And that's why I do the acting thing. So I can represent doing acting. Mm-hmm. The modeling thing, well, first of all, I had to keep my body at an exact size 18, which is the sample size, the fit size for plus sizes. And I did not necessarily want to be that size anymore. I wanted to see what my body felt like at a different size. Mm-hmm. So I had spent 20 years at a perfect size 18 where I had the measurements of 44 bust, 35 waist, 46 hips. And I had that measurement for 20 years. You know how hard it is to stay the exact same size for 20 years? Mm-hmm. I mean, I had to eat a little more. I had to eat a little less. I had to exercise every day, which I do anyway. Yeah. But I just found that at 40, it was time to shift my focus. And then 9/11 happened, and I was living in New York City. And I realized after that New York no longer felt like home. The way I described it to my dad was I used to get up in the morning, and for those of you who've spent any time in New York City, which many of us have, it used to be like I'd leave my apartment building in the morning and I'd jump on the wave. I would jump on and ride the wave of energy for 10 or 12 hours and be out and do my thing and do my modeling thing and do my auditions and do all my appointments and do my speaking and do whatever I was doing. And then I come back and I was fine. After 9/11, every time I left my house, it felt like the wave was crashing over my head and I couldn't breathe. Mm-hmm. And I didn't like who I was becoming. I mean, for the first 6 months, people were lovely and kind and supportive. And then people got very territorial, or my experience is people got very territorial and very upset and aggravated because the economy had tanked and people were stressed and we were all worried that another building was going to fall on us. I mean, I lived 1 block from the Citicorp building, that giant glass triangular type building in Midtown. I lived 1 block from there, and I started having nightmares about the building falling on me. And I thought, you know what? This isn't who I want to be. Yeah. So that's really when I said goodbye to modeling. And thank God for, again, surround yourself with brilliant people and get help. I had a therapist at the time. She's brilliant. Actually, go to their website. It's askk2.com. It's ASK, the letter K2.com. It's Catherine Crowley and Kathy Elster. And Catherine was my therapist and my business coach. And Kathy and Catherine were my business coaches. And I went and saw Catherine and I said, how do I give up something that I've been doing for 20 years? How do I leave New York City and give up modeling? And she gave me one of the best pieces of advice I ever had. She said, every time you go into a modeling booking, because I loved what I did, every time you go in, as you're leaving, say in your head, thank you and goodbye. And do that for 6 months. And by the time it actually came time to leave New York and retire from modeling, I could say thank you and goodbye, and it didn't kill me because I'd been practicing it for 9 months. I hope that's helpful for somebody who's ready to leave something. Thank you and goodbye.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. So just going back to your speaking, what do you speak about when you're on stage?
Sales, persuasion, and execution. Not how to kill yourself.
Oh, I was thinking medieval execution then.
No,
I mean,
not Clorox chewables either. No, none of that. I don't know.
I thought it was a bit unusual.
Yeah, how to get stuff done in business.
Yeah.
So sales and persuasion, but all based in relationships. So I'm really a relationship builder. Because again, you want to surround yourself with brilliant people. You want to do business. People do business. Business is done people to people. Even if it's electronic, it's still people to people.
Yeah. What do you enjoy most about what you do?
Oh, meeting the people, being with the people. I love that part. I call it sensory acuity. I love being in front of an audience. And here's how the weird visual in my brain works. When I'm in front of an audience, above every single person's head, I see an unpopped kernel of popcorn. And as I'm speaking and as I'm working, I wait and I watch the whole audience. And as I'm saying something that I hear them go, I see that kernel pop. And my goal in every presentation I do is to see every single kernel popped by the time I get off stage.
And does that always happen?
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just aren't ready to cook. It's okay. They're not ready. When people are ready, they'll hear what they need to hear. But no, I would say most of the time, most of the audience gets a pop, and that makes me happy.
Well, that's good. And what drives you to do what you do?
Money? No. Money is part of it.
That's
yeah.
good.
No, money is part of it.
We need money.
People who say yes, because the more money you have, the more able you are to do good in the world. Money is a tool. That's all it is. It's a tool. It's a tool to pay your bills. And one of my favorite quotes is from Michael Beckwith. And he says, you can't be the light of the world if you can't pay your electric bill.
Well, it's also a measure of how much good you've delivered in the world, isn't it? If you think about it.
I don't know. I have to think about
it's how much value. It's how much value you've delivered in the world.
Okay.
Don't you think?
Okay.
Do you
Mother
think
Teresa
that?
didn't have any money. And I would say that Mother Teresa delivered probably way more value than I.
There's
or
more
Bill
than one
Gates
way of measuring value, though.
That's true, too. It is one way of measuring value. Okay. I accept that. And anytime you do something for free. So I do a lot of fee waived programs. Like I will do one per quarter for an organization or a nonprofit that I'm passionate about. Mm-hmm. Like I work with Dress for Success. How can I not work with women who are trying to get back in the workforce, who've had trouble, who need clothing? Like that's an obvious duh for me, right? Yep. Huntington's Society of America, Huntington's disease runs in the family of a close friend of mine. So I MC their caregiver and their support and caregiver day every year. So I'll do pro bono, or I call them fee waived programs. But I do find that if you just give your stuff away for free, people don't value it. There's got to be an exchange of something. A lot of times if I'm doing a fee waived program, I'll have them donate, let's say, a little bit of money, maybe even $100 to my favorite charity. That's just an advice to people.
How do you relax when you're not working in your business?
I have the world's greatest golden retriever. Mm-hmm. He's 14 and a half years old. His name is Bama the Wonder Dog. He's amazing. I adopted him when he was 8. So I've had him now for 7 years. He is the love of my life. So I spend time with my puppy, who can't hear me anymore, but he can feel when I move. It's great. And he's also, I mean, if you've seen purebred golden retrievers, they're gorgeous. Mm-hmm. And I believe that people end up looking like their dogs. So I got a dog who's prettier than I am because I'm not stupid. So I spend time with my dog. I do hot yoga. I love hot yoga, that hour to hour and a half, either hot power fusion or hot yoga. Oh my gosh, I can sweat out any bad vibes or toxins. I meditate. I go to Mile High Church, which you can do, milehighchurch.org, and you can go to their services online. One of my closest friends is the senior minister there. So I love being with my friend, either in person if I'm in town or online with her. I believe that having a spiritual community that supports you spiritually is really important. That's important to me. Mm-hmm. I ride my bike. I do walks. And I play Scrabble and sing karaoke.
Wow. At the same time?
No. But they can both be done now on the computer. So even if you're not with people. So do you know that you can go on YouTube and type in any song karaoke and it'll kind of come up? So when I need a break in my brain from working, I will sing karaoke at my desk.
Wow.
And then I surround myself with really, really funny people like Tim and Dale, my co-hosts on anotherdayaboveground.com and on our podcast. And we do that once a week. And they get to trigger the really funny part of my brain.
You see, this is what Dale did. He was unstoppable.
I know.
He couldn't stop plugging his podcast.
I am not letting him outplug me. I'm sorry. You know what? I might be the most competitive woman in the world. And that's that.
I hope you're ready for this summarizing at the end.
Okay. I'm not going to be summarizing.
He did it. Are you not going to rise to it?
No, because that's what he does. That's not what I do. But what we should do is send this to him and make him summarize this. Now that would be funny.
I could arrange that.
Yeah, we should do that.
Maybe I will.
So can I talk more about business? There are a couple more things I want to share with your audience. Can I?
Of course. We haven't finished yet.
I'll just moderate for you. I'll just take over for you.
Okay, I'll see you in a while.
Okay, bye. No, I'm kidding. Okay. When we were talking about, when I was thinking about doing this and talking about, oh my God, myself for 10 whole minutes about what I did and how I got here. But I realized that what I've done over my 50-something, oh my God, years on the planet, I'll deny it if anybody says I'm over 50, I'll deny it. Okay. But it's true. Okay. It's funny. I used to, when I did fashion shows, I used to say, you can ask me how much I weigh and what size I am, but don't ever ask me how old I am. So, that's shifted too. Mm-hmm. But I realized that there were so many tools, like business tools and things that I learned over the years that I kind of stuck in my toolbox that has helped me in all of the business that I've done. And I think everybody develops their own toolkit, right? I mean, first of all, every female needs to have a toolkit, actually a physical one that she can fix stuff around her house, but also one that you can pull out when you're dealing with somebody or working with somebody. If I do some executive coaching, I'm actually a trusted corporate advisor for a lot of companies and a lot of CEOs. 3 things that I've learned over the years. Feng shui. I've learned that your environment will create and definitely enhance how you feel. So it is so important to create an environment, both personal and professional, that supports who you are. So it's important to have a vision board in your environment, right? It's important to have screensavers on your computer that support you. So studying feng shui was huge. I studied NLP back in the day with Tony Robbins and Bandler and Grinder. I mean, I studied NLP back in the 80s and early 90s. And that's helped me so much to figure out how people think and process information. And then, I also studied with a woman named Allison Armstrong. You can find her website at understandmen.com. And Allison probably has the best information on the differences between men and women. And that's helped me so much because I can deal with male CEOs, female CEOs, employees of both genders, and understand what the basic operating system is causing them and how that's causing them to be. So I think it's really important to acknowledge what's in your toolbox. And that's what makes you different as an entrepreneur, is what you can provide and how you put all those together to support your customers and clients.
Thank you, Carolyn. That was
You're welcome.
Very interesting. I'm glad you did that, actually. So we're learning about Feng Shui, NLP, and having a toolbox, or having those things in your toolbox, which is all useful stuff. And, okay, so do you have any entrepreneurial role models?
My dad, my grandfather, both grandfathers. So I grew up never seeing anybody have a job. Nobody in my immediate family had a job. So when I grew up, one of the reasons I went to therapy when I was in my early 20s is I couldn't imagine going to work for somebody else and having them make money off of my blood, sweat, and genius. How could I do that? I couldn't imagine it. So I actually had to go to therapy and have people help me figure out that there are people who don't want all of the accountability and all of the responsibility and all of the work of running a business. I couldn't imagine that because my dad ran the oldest operating leather tannery in the United States, and my grandfather ran that, and my other grandfather was a lawyer and then ran an ice cream business. So everybody in my family were business owners and entrepreneurs. So they were kind of my business role models, I guess.
So, Carolyn, you've told us about your business and your personal life. You've told us about your toolbox. Now what we're going to do is go back in time and talk about the time before you were an entrepreneur. What difficulties did you have to overcome when you started your business?
That is a great question. I don't know that I had any because I didn't have any other choice. I mean, look, when I first got on Home Shopping, you want a tragic story? I'll tell. Oh, Neil, I'll give you some dirt here. When I first went on the Home Shopping Network, the first time I was on, which was in the spring of 1997, and Scott and I, my business partner, and I on the Carolyn Strauss collection had created a collection, and it was spring, so we did shorts and a top that had fruit on them. They had fruit on them. It wasn't good. They had fruit on them. And I went on the air and I had an hour for my show, and I did one piece in nylon, stretchy, slinky, spandex kind of fabric. But we went on with these shorts and these tops, and they had fruit on them. I have to keep saying that because I have to keep imagining that I actually did that and designed that. And halfway through the show, I hear in my ear, in the earpiece, I hear, Carolyn, please clear the set. And I say, I don't understand what you're saying. And they say, no, clear the set. You're done. I'm like, no, I'm not done. We have another half hour. And they're like, get out in my ear.
So
I say, I get out and I go in there like, oh, this show is tanking. These clothes are horrible. This isn't working. Done. Kicked in the stomach, and I was going to throw up. Mm-hmm. And Scott was there with me, and I started crying. I mean, and I start crying because I'm just dated. And then they come in and say, "Oh, you have another show in an hour on our second network." Mm-hmm. I say, "What?" They're like, "You have to do that again." So I had to get it up and do it again on their second network, which was called America Store, for any who's listening, and watch the Home Shopping Network back in the 90s. And we had a second network called America Store, which is where the stuff that didn't sell great went. So I had to touch up my makeup, go on TV and do it again. Mm-hmm. But the beautiful thing is we actually got to the item that was the stretchy material, and that one did really well. Mm-hmm. So they call us into the buyer's office at the end of the worst day of my life. And they call us in and say, look, we're going to give you guys another chance, which I don't know happens anymore. It happened in the late 90s. We're going to give you guys another chance. Why don't you base your line around this nylon spandex stretchy fabric and see what you can do. And we retooled and redesigned an entire new line and got it made because we were manufacturing in the United States at that time. So the turnaround time was only a couple months. And we went on in the late fall of 1997 and we were a smash. Mm-hmm. So it's not always a smash when you start.
It's not. But you see, so when was that?
Early 1997.
Early 1997.
But I'd already had a successful fashion show commentating career, and I'd already had a successful modeling career. So again, I think a lot of it is luck.
See, it was quite forward thinking, really, when you think about it. You tried putting fruit on clothing and it didn't work. But look what happened later than that. They put fruit on phones. You had a BlackBerry, you had an Apple, and they did really well.
I know. If only I'd have thought of that. Where was I, right? Okay, so I have another story for you about a really bad business move. So it was the late 80s, and I was commentating a fashion show in Seattle. It was the late 80s, and I was at a hotel downtown, and I walked into this incredible coffee shop, and it was the first one, and it was this little teeny coffee shop called Starbucks. Mm-hmm. And I went in, and I had the best cup of coffee I had ever had in the U.S. because I had been in Europe. I had traveled in Europe and spent time in Europe, and I loved the European coffee, and I got an espresso, and it was as good. And I left that one little teeny Starbucks store, and I did not invest in the company. Okay. Wow. That was not smart because I knew it when I tasted it in the 80s that it would have been something, and I didn't invest in that. So another business mistake, when you find something that's really brilliant, invest in it.
That's the power of hindsight, isn't it? Seeing where you've missed those opportunities, but you forget about all the other times where you didn't invest as well, and you've forgotten about those because they never were successful. Did you have any doubts that delayed you starting your business?
Nope.
No.
Nope. I moved to New York City and had to pay my rent. Mm-hmm. So when I moved to New York City, I lived on a couch, by the way. You know, I mean, it's so funny. I talk to like my friends' kids. So I don't have kids. Mm-hmm. I don't see the ROI in it, but I shouldn't say that on a podcast. No, I'm kidding. I don't have kids. I chose not to be a mom. Mm-hmm. No, and you know why I chose not to be a mom? I know what being a mom costs. Mm-hmm. I always thought I could have kids if I could be a dad. And I always thought that being a grandma would be great. But I don't have kids of my own. Why was I saying that? Now I'm totally derailed. Hold on. Something about, you asked if I didn't, you know.
I was asking if you had any doubts before you delayed you starting your business.
Oh, yeah. So now I know I'm talking about my friends' kids. That's because right. They expect things to just show up. Mm-hmm. They expect things to just be there and be easy. I lived on a couch in New York City on the corner of 23rd Street and 2nd Avenue on a couch for 3 years before I got my own apartment. So, and I ate ramen noodles and I ate fruit from the little corner Korean market in New York City. And I took jobs and I modeled and I feel very blessed that I never had to do anything inappropriate in the world of modeling. I was never asked to, although, in the late 80s, I was asked to pose for Playboy. Mm-hmm. Playboy did a plus size issue, for those of you guys who are around, in the late 80s. And they came to my modeling agency and that I was modeling for, and they asked me if I would pose. And I turned it down. Now, that was the issue that Anna Nicole Smith was in. So maybe I made the wrong move there, but I turned it down because I couldn't imagine what my dad would say if he saw those pictures. So I turned it down. But no, I never thought I would fail, because experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. It was a good experience.
What mistakes did you make that slowed your journey?
I didn't pose for Playboy. I think that's it. I actually had an opportunity to do a TV show, which I met with some people out in California. I barely remember this meeting, but I had a meeting with some people in California. But it was when things started to get outrageous in the early 90s, and this was way before home shopping. And they wanted me to do things that were not in alignment with my integrity. They wanted me to be like outrageous and obnoxious and pushy. And I can be obnoxious and pushy now. I have no problem. But when I was in my 20s and 30s, it didn't feel in alignment. So I think I turned down a couple of opportunities that probably would have taken my life in a different direction. And partnering with different people and marrying different people would have taken my life in a totally different direction. So I don't know that they were missed opportunities or bad. I just think that they were an interesting choice to take on my path.
So at some point that all changed, because you've come on this show today. You've already plugged your podcast twice, and we're not even halfway through yet. So
we're more than
at the rate we're going, you're going to push it at least 3 more times.
What podcast, Neil?
I don't know.
What podcast? You were on it. What podcast were you on?
Another Day Above Ground.
Thank you. Moving on.
I think you've just made me say the name for you, haven't you? Well, we'll call that 3 now.
Hey, I only said it twice, dude.
What are some of the things that you did before you started your business that would be helpful tips to some of the listeners who haven't yet taken the first step on the entrepreneur way?
I think the path that I took doesn't exist anymore. So let me tell you what I know now from working with businesses all over the country and all over the world. So I've spoken for CEO groups. One of the ways that I give back or make and also make my living is I speak for CEO mastermind groups. I think everybody should have a mastermind. I think everybody should have a group of people around them that can help them see what they can't see. One of my favorite phrases is that you can't see the jar of mayonnaise from the inside of the jar. So you have to have outside eyes on yourself and on your business. But one of the things that I teach is most people don't know that there are 3 types of businesses. Do you know what they are, Neil? You've done millions of these. Do you know that there are 3? Well, the tons of these for the entrepreneurs. What are the 3 kinds of businesses? What if I give you examples of each kind of business and you figure out what they are?
Okay, let's play that game.
Okay. All right, let's play that game. So Nordstrom, what do you think their business model is?
I know it's an American business. I've never been in it, so it's a bit of an unfair question. But from what I gather, they like to give people good service. I think that's the case.
Perfect. That is what we call customer-centric business. Meaning that they will do whatever it takes within their abilities to satisfy a customer. So you want to look at, do you want to be a customer-centric business? Okay. Quiz number 2. Next kind of business. If I say McDonald's, what do they do?
They do I'd say it's quality, cheap, fast food. Predictable.
Yes. Brilliant. That is predictable and replicable. So that type of business we call an operational excellence business, meaning it will be the same and as good every single time, in every single location, every time you visit one. So I can go to a McDonald's in the UK, and I can go to a McDonald's in Greece, and I can go to a McDonald's in the US, and I can even go to a McDonald's in Israel, which I did a couple years ago, which was hilarious, because you know that they have McDonald's that have a red banner or a blue banner. If they have the blue banner, it's a kosher McDonald's. If they have a red banner, it's not kosher. Isn't that wild?
I didn't know that. I'm glad you told me that.
I didn't know that either. Yeah, I didn't know that either.
All the things we're learning on this episode, it's amazing.
This was so cool. Okay, so that, though, McDonald's is an operational excellence company. So when you're starting your business, do you want to create something that other people can do? It's sort of like the speakers who create the businesses where they hire other speakers to go train their materials. Those are operational excellence speaking businesses. Okay, then here's the third one. Ready?
I am ready.
If I say Apple.
Apple.
What kind of business are they?
Well, I'm guessing that you're not talking about your clothing business now. No. They are a business which seem to be, what would I say with them? They have a sort of raving fan base. I think you could say that about them. They charge a premium for their products, and some people just love them.
And why?
I don't know. I don't buy them.
Me either, but if they want to send me one after this podcast, I'm happy to take it.
But why do they? Because people, well, first of all, they lock you into their ecosystem, but that's the sort of cynical part of me which says that.
And why can they do that? So the question is, why can they do that?
Why can they do that? Because people seem to have this unquestioning want and desire for their products, and they'll almost accept anything. Well, not accept anything, because it's not as if it's bad products, I'm sure of that. But they have, yeah, I think that's probably it. Or that's part of it. Go on, Carolyn, enlighten me.
It's part of it.
Is it?
Because they are cutting edge, because they're the product leader, because everybody's trying to copy them. So if you're willing to take risk and you're willing to go out there and really push the envelope of what can be done, then you become a product leader company. So the three kind of companies are customer centric, operational excellence, or product leader. Most people want to be all three, and it's not possible. No. You cannot. When I had my clothing company, so I'll take it back to me again, because it's me, all me for the whole hour. Oh God. All right. So when I had my clothing company, we made easy wear, easy care clothing for busy women so that after they got dressed, they don't have to think about themselves for the rest of the day. That was our vision and mission statement. It was both. But we had to do it in a way that they couldn't find the same stuff anywhere else. So we were actually a product leader company. We were not an operational excellence company. I wish we had been. We were not. Every single time when you're talking about stretchy material, if you've ever tried to sew 4 things made of stretchy material, it is really hard to get them all to be exactly the same every single time. Can't do it. We couldn't be a customer-centric business because we were customer-centric to HSN and what they needed, the home shopping network. But we were within their parameters, and I couldn't, if a customer bought a pair of pants from me and she sent me an email, which happened a lot, and said, "Hey, Carolyn, can you make me these pants in blue?" I did not have the capacity to go sew a pair of those same pants in blue. So I was very clear that in my clothing company, I was a product leader company, meaning I had to design stuff that nobody had ever seen before in a way that they had never done it before. And that was really challenging. But that's why we were so successful, I believe, for 18 years, because I knew what kind of company we were. Now I'm a professional keynote speaker and trusted corporate advisor where I work with all different kinds of companies. I'm not a product leader. I mean, sure, I know stuff that other people don't know, but they know stuff that I don't know. I mean, no, I'm not a product leader. And operational excellence, seriously, the fact that I showed up on time for you for this show was kind of amazing. So operational excellence.
I'm impressed.
No. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I am not rigid in any way. I am 100% flexible to what my customer, what my client needs. So I am now a 100% customer centric business.
Yeah. Carolyn, we're now going to jump forward in time and talk about the time from when you became an entrepreneur. Do you think culture is important from the beginning in a business?
Yeah. I mean, everything is important from the beginning. I mean, one of my favorite quotes is relationships sink from the holes that are in them from the beginning. So context is everything. So the context is, how do we do things? It's funny. I worked with a company, UGRs out of the UK actually, and they're all about unwritten ground rules, and they're all about culture. And it's asking people can say, well, this is how we do things around here. And if everybody has the same answer to how do we do things around here, then you've got a strong culture. If some people think that we talk behind others' backs, and some people think that we cut prices for the clients that we like, and we charge higher premiums for the clients we don't like, all of that, that's a messed up culture. So it's very important for leaders, especially, to create the culture that works for their industry and for them. Sure.
Knowing what you know now, is there anything that if you'd known it when you started out that would have helped you to shortcut the learning curve? Yeah,
I should have got married to somebody rich. a long time ago, right? I mean,
and where would that have put
they say if you marry for money, you earn every penny. But I'm into that now. It's way too late, but it's all good.
So where would you be on the learning curve now if you'd done that?
Oh man, I would be on such a different curve. I wouldn't even be on the same planet. So yeah,
you'd be in orbit.
What do I wish I had done? That's
it. Okay, well, apart from not marrying someone who's rich, what else could you have done?
I actually don't know. I mean, I'm thrilled where I ended up, right? I mean, I'm not incredibly rich. It's interesting. I had an offer when I was, in my early 30s. I was living in New York City, and QVC, if you know what that is over there, right? Right. So QVC opened Q2, which was a second channel, and they opened it over at Silver Cup Studios in Queens, where Sex and the City was shot and everything. And it was right across the 59th Street Bridge from my apartment. And I went and I auditioned to be a host on Q2, and I actually got the job. But I don't know if you've ever spent any time on any of those shopping networks, no. But if you're new as a new host, and this was all new network, they own you 40 hours a week, and you can have to be there and be on air from 2 to 6 in the morning, whenever they feel like it, or 10 to 2 in the morning or whatever. And I got the job, and I called my dad and I said, so what do you think? And he said, babe, it takes money to make a living, but it takes time to have a life. What do you want to do? And 3 years later, I turned them down. 3 years later, I went to Home Shopping Network and got my own line on HSN. So the universe has kind of put me where I needed to go, but I think I would have had a very different life had I accepted. By the way, it also paid over $100,000 a year, and I was not making anywhere near that as a model and as a speaker when I was in my early 30s. So it was turning down probably twice as much money as I was currently making to have the life that I wanted to have.
Was that an easy decision?
No. It was an interesting decision. It was an interesting process. It's the question that I ask every entrepreneur that I do any coaching with or work with, and every leader. Why did you start your business? What do you want your life to look like? I did not want somebody else to own my time from 2 to 6 in the morning whenever they felt like it.
How much does gut feeling influence your decisions in your business?
Unfortunately, way more than it probably should. Yeah, I very much go by gut feeling. If something feels wrong, there's a reason. there's either a personality conflict or there's something that I see potentially what could happen and it takes me down the wrong path. Yeah. Yeah. I think meditation is hugely important for entrepreneurs. And I think when you get quiet, the ideas come and the solutions come. I mean, I'm sure you've noticed this, Neil. Do you ever notice when you get your best ideas is sometimes when you're in the shower? Does that happen to you?
It's more if I'm running or riding my bike, actually.
Yes.
It's not the
okay,
shower
perfect.
for me.
Because, and that you know why, right? It's because your body and part of your brain is busy doing something. So the creative part has space to move. Mm-hmm. So meditation, showers. Yeah, I love that for you. It's exercise, running. I used to think it was in yoga for me, but it's not because I'm too busy focusing on the poses. Mm-hmm. So when I'm in the shower, I get the best ideas. And now I've really learned to meditate. And boy, that's where I get clear on if something's a mistake for me or not.
How often do you meditate?
You want the real answer or what I would tell myself? The real answer is probably twice a week when I remember. The answer I tell myself is, I try to meditate every day. No, I meditate a couple times a week. I actually created meditation CDs before meditation was so important back in the early 2000s. I actually created a couple of meditation CDs and they were chakra based. Mm-hmm. And I think they're still pretty good. What I really should do when we get off this talk is put them up on YouTube and make them free. I will do that.
Yeah.
That's a commitment I'm going to make to you and your audience.
So why did you make those CDs in the first place?
Because people would say, how do you get clear? How do you meditate? I used to talk about the psychology of color when you wore a different color in a different outfit. And I know the psychology of color based on the chakras, based on the energy centers in the body. So I thought, why not create something that I can sell in the back of the room, make some money, which I never did. Never made any money on it. Usually ended up giving them away. And also something that would really help people learn to meditate. And
you could have sold them on the internet.
I could have when people were buying CDs. Yes. Now I will just put it up on, it is all free now. And that's okay. I mean, look at the Calm app, Calm and Insight Timer. Mm-hmm. I'm a huge fan of them and their free content rocks. It's so good. I think everybody should have that. And if you can't sleep, I say go and find a good sleep meditation and put it on. I have never gotten to the end of a sleep meditation that was more than 15 minutes long, ever. I never know what they're going to say. I'm thinking I might wake up clucking like a chicken because I don't know what they're saying to me at the end because I've never heard the end of one.
What makes you uncomfortable as an entrepreneur?
When people lie to me. Mm-hmm. I am pissed. That is the one. No, there are two deal breakers for me. One is lie to me. Now, don't say you can do something if you can't. Don't say you can deliver something if you can't. And don't tell me something's okay if it's not. Don't lie to me. And then the second thing, my biggest pet peeve, is don't waste my time. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if someone said that they could put the camera on a podcast, for example, and they couldn't deliver that, how would that make you feel?
I'd make them feel like they need to learn more technology. And I'm terrible at technology.
My technology is playing up today. I don't know what's going on, so
I know.
You can't direct this at me.
Mercury's not even in retrograde today, so it's all good.
Oh, you've just lost me now.
Okay.
What do you think are some of the secrets to success?
Give me a realm, babe. That is such a big question. Some of the secrets to success. I think the secrets to success is figuring out what success looks like for you. Mm-hmm. Look, if success for me was all about money, I'm not so successful. Honestly, I don't have millions. I'm not sitting in a giant mansion. And, if success for me was having 2.2 children and a picket fence, then I would clearly not be successful. If success for me was, being really famous, nope. success for me is I'm successful because I like what I do. I like what I've created in the world. And I have a circle of friends and people around me that I would do anything for, and they would do anything for me. That to me is success, but I think it's totally different for other people. You've got to just define what success is for you. So, yeah, for me, it's having a circle of people around me that are like there for me, and me for them.
I knew what you meant, but it's good that you clarified that there.
Well, one of my favorite affirmations is I'm only surrounded by people who want what's best for me and I for them.
Yeah. Life is made of constant change, whether we like it or not. And many people say that the only constant in life is change. Carolyn, how do you try to keep up with change?
I keep it in a jar on top of my refrigerator, and when I get too much of it, I take it to the grocery store and put it in a machine, and they take 10%, and I get dollars.
Okay. Thank you for your serious answer there. I'm sure it's very truthful.
It is truthful. I can actually show you the jar of the change on my refrigerator.
So, Carolyn, that's a great answer. I love it. It's the first time anybody's said that to me. And I actually believe that you were being serious. But what about a more serious answer that's not revolving around a jar of change or whatever you've got?
I think metaphorically, I was right the first time. Look, change is. I mean, everybody's got some. It happens to everybody, and we've all got it. So change just happens. Look, even not changing changes. I mean, I'm 10 years older than I was 10 years ago. Isn't that shocking? And given that, I'm not the same person that I was. My biology is not the same. My eyesight is not the same. And the way I actually see the world is not the same because of all of the experiences that I've had. So I think we just have to take change and go, okay, how do I use this to meet my objectives? And do my objectives change when something changes? Maybe. We don't know.
But you don't pile that up on the top of the refrigerator, though, do you?
No, don't hold on. Like I said, take it to the store and recycle it. You don't know. Don't hold on to change. Don't, you know, the Buddha said that suffering is caused by attachment. Attachment causes suffering. So what happens is people want to hold on to the way things were and not accept the way things are. I mean, let's take this whole global corona anomaly. I call it a corona anomaly because an anomaly is something outside the norm. Well, the corona anomaly is outside the norm. We cannot cling to and hold on to exactly the way things were before this all happened and expect them to get back to there. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Nobody knows. But things have changed. So how do you adapt to any kind of change to have it take you to where you're headed?
See, when you keep that change on your refrigerator, though, you're trying to hold on to change.
I'm actually trying to get rid of change.
We should
That's
spend
why it's
it.
on the top of the
Spend it
refrigerator.
straight away.
I do, but most places don't take change. So I have to, like I said, take it to the grocery store, put it in the change machine and get the dollars. They'll take the dollars. They don't like the change. I don't know why.
What is your favorite book on entrepreneurialism, business, personal development, leadership, or motivation? And can you tell us why you have chosen it?
All of those? Wow, they're all totally
like.
different categories. Sure. Let me give you my favorite business book. It's by an author named Peter Stark, and it's called The Competent Leader. I think it's the best business book I've ever read, and I've read lots of business books. Peter wrote the best leadership book ever. So it's Peter Stark. And he also wrote a book with a very close friend of mine, Dr. Mary Kelly, a book called Why Leaders Fail. That's a good one. Mary and Peter also wrote a brand new book called Who Comes Next, which is succession planning. But I have to go back to Peter's book, The Competent Leader, which I know you can find on Amazon. It's an exceptional leadership book.
Folks, when you have a busy life, listening to audiobooks is a great way to expand your knowledge in the time when you may be doing other things, such as driving or when you are at the gym. We have a special offer for you of a free audiobook of your choosing. To choose your free audiobook, go to www.freeaudiobookoffer.com. As long as you've not already signed up, then you will qualify. Carolyn, are you ready to speculate about the future?
Oh, sure.
Oh, good. Well, tell us what's going to happen in the future.
Okay, so did you ever go to Tomorrowland at Disney? Did you ever go to Disney World? Okay, so when I was a kid, I went to Disney World with my parents, and we went to a place called Tomorrowland, and it showed like microwaves and TVs or phones where we could actually talk to people and see people. I'm supposed to be able to see you, Neil. So we could actually see people while we were having conversations with them. I mean, that was the future. Of course, a couple of years ago, I went back to Disney and I went to Tomorrowland, and my line was, "Tomorrowland is so yesterday." Anyway, speculate about the future. Pick something.
What one thing would you do with your business if you knew that you could not fail?
Well, there is no such thing as failure. So the one thing I could do with my business is anything. I mean, look, experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. It was a good experience, right? So experience is what you get when you don't get what you want, but at least you got experience. So anything is an experience. I mean, I'm struggling right now, to be perfectly honest, Neil, with this whole new world of video presentations. Okay, video programs.
I can't get my camera to work.
Clearly, but I'm struggling because I am such a high concept, high content, high touch human. That's how I operate. That's who I am. I mean, if you've read The 5 Love Languages, and by the way, that's another book I highly recommend, The 5 Love Languages. Everybody should have it. Anybody in a relationship should have read it long time ago. But my love language is touch. Words and touch are my 2 love languages. So to be stuck in a 2-inch box on a computer screen and try to impart the energy and the emotion and the wisdom that I'm trying to impart to people, it's really challenging for me. So that's kind of what I'm dealing with right now. And I don't remember what the question was, but thanks for the therapy.
You're welcome. I was talking about what would you do if you knew you could not change, but you told me that if you couldn't fail.
Yeah. But there's no such thing as failure.
Well, you say there isn't any such thing as failure. Blockbuster's failed.
No, Blockbuster failed to evolve.
And ultimately it failed. As a business. It's an entity. It was an entity.
If their goal was to provide video content, they should have evolved. So I don't know, maybe their goal was to be out of business in 20 years. I still have my Blockbuster card. I'm hoping they'll come back.
I don't think it'll work for you now. Got to let go of that.
Now, if Blockbuster had been smart and had partnered with Amazon to deliver overnight content like Netflix started to do when they did their delivery, and Blockbuster had gotten in on that, right? So I think the biggest way to not fail is to see what is coming down the pike as best as you can and try to adapt. I'm not adapting as well, like I said, to this video delivery system as I would like to be.
I've got a hang of it. I'm good with it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, they'll believe you.
They can't see this. What skill, if you were excellent at it, would help you the most to double your business?
Sign language.
On a podcast.
You didn't ask on a podcast. All right, so humor, right? I have a very funny podcast. What's my podcast called, Neil?
Another Day.
Yeah, so I have that podcast, Another Day Above Ground, which is very funny. So I'd like to be funnier. That would be good. No, but sign language. One of the biggest challenges with people wearing masks around the world these days is that people who are hearing impaired, most of their way of communicating and their sign language reading is sign language and reading lips. I am so concerned for our hearing impaired audiences. I think this is terrible. And even just on the street. I mean, I'm so worried about somebody who's hearing impaired getting pulled over on the street and the officer wearing a mask saying, put your hands on the wheel and show me your license. If the person can't read their lips, there's going to be some challenges here. So there are a lot of things we need to work on in the world. And I know that wasn't the question, but hey, I answered it anyway.
Well, thank you for that answer. And thank
You're
you
welcome.
for somehow making me talk about your show.
What show?
I cannot remember the name now.
I'll remind you, it's another day
almost
above
as
ground.
shameless as Dale was. In 5 years from now, if a well-known business publication was publishing an article on your business after talking to your customers and suppliers, what would you like it to say?
There was, I don't know. I love that question. That's a question I would have to think about some more. But I think something about there being no BS. All quality, no BS.
It's now time for 3 golden nuggets. Carolyn, what is your favourite quote and how have you applied it?
Okay. One of them is the space for what you want in your life is already being filled with what you're willing to settle for. And how have I applied it? I look around at what I want and go, okay, what do I have to say no to or give up to have that?
I think that jar of change has to go.
I like it. It's fun. I get to watch it fill up and then I take it to the store.
Do you have any favourite online resources you can share with us that will be useful for other entrepreneurs?
Yes. So I have been mentored by a woman named Allison Armstrong for years and years and years. Go to understandmen.com. Understandmen.com. Go to the tab that says free stuff and read everything and learn everything. It's brilliant.
And do you think you understand men now, do you?
How are you feeling right now, Neil?
You tell me. You understand me.
You seem pretty happy, but if I could see you, I'd know better.
Or maybe you have to rely on some of your other senses.
Like I said, I'm living in a computer in a box. No. Okay, what else?
What is your best advice to other entrepreneurs?
I don't want to sound cliche, but follow your path. Watch what other people are doing. Look at what they're doing. Watch what they are doing that's successful, that's working. Read everything you can about your industry and other industries. Get in a mastermind group and then do only what's right for you and your business.
Well, thank you for that, Carolyn. Folks, if you didn't manage to get a note of Carolyn's favourite resource or her favourite book, you can find the links on Carolyn's show notes page. Just go to theentrepreneurway.com and search for Carolyn or Carolyn Strauss in the search box. Carolyn, is there anything else you would like to add about your business?
If you want help or support in sales, persuasion, execution, or communication. My favorite program that I'm doing right now is called Communication Skills for Wicked Smart People. People who have ideas that can change the world, CEOs and researchers and scientists and medical people who need to get buy-in and need to get investment and need to get their teams on board, but are horrible communicators. That's my passion right now, and I want to help. So reach out, go to carolynstrauss.com and send me a note, because I would love to help you if you're wicked smart and you need to get buy-in to what you're up to.
Well, thank you for that, Carolyn. And Carolyn, thank you for coming on the show today and telling us about how you've got to where you are on your journey right now. You've reflected on your journey. You've talked about your business. You've sometimes taken things seriously. Sometimes you've played with my answers a little, played with my questions a little bit and given me unexpected answers. But you've also shared some of your experiences that you've had as an entrepreneur. You've shared some of your thoughts about what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur. And you've given us some good advice as well. So thank you very much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to play with you and your accent, Neil.
Well, thank you. I very much appreciate you playing with me and my accent. And you're welcome, Carolyn. Folks, you have been listening to Neil Ball chatting with Carolyn Strauss on The Entrepreneur Way. Enjoyed the show? Please share it on social media and subscribe to our email on the Entrepreneur Way website. Also, please add your comments on Carolyn's show notes page on the Entrepreneur Way website at www